The planet Virilia was dying. Smoke rose from its shattered cities, and the once blue skies were now a thick gray that never changed. Rivers had turned black, and forests that once stretched for miles were reduced to charred stumps. Humanity's colonies on Virilia had tried to survive, but the relentless alien plague, the Krath, had left little room for hope. In the final city of survivors, a small group of scientists and leaders gathered in a dim command room. The walls were lined with cracked screens, and the air was heavy with fear. Among them was Sarah, a young scientist with sharp eyes and a steady hand. She worked tirelessly to find a solution, but the Krath had proven almost impossible to understand. "We've lost contact with all other cities," said one of the leaders, his voice shaking. "If we don't get help soon, there will be no humans left here." Sarah nodded. She knew he was right. They had tried every tactic, every weapon, every plan they could think of, but the Krath adapted faster than they could react. Their only option was to send a signal, an interstellar plea for salvation that might reach anyone who could help. Nearby, Rin, a former engineer turned strategist, worked at the console. She keyed in coordinates, calculations, and a message that carried the weight of an entire planet's despair. "If anyone is out there," she said quietly, "we are begging you to answer." The signal left Virilia like a tiny spark in the endless darkness of space, traveling light years in hope that someone strong, someone capable would see it and respond. On Earth, far from the chaos of dying planets, the signal arrived in a hidden base nestled in the mountains. The base was home to the Earth Deathworlders, humans trained to survive the harshest conditions across the galaxy. Here the impossible was ordinary. Temperatures could drop below freezing or climb above the boiling point of water, but they thrived. Nothing could break them. Lena, a tactical leader with calm eyes and quick reflexes, was the first to notice the incoming signal. "We have a message from another planet," she said to the team. "It's a distress call. They are asking for help." Milo, a skilled pilot with nerves of steel, frowned. "Another one? We've answered calls before, but this could be a trap." Taro, a survival expert with muscles carved from years in the wildest places on Earth, shook his head. "We are the people they are calling for. If they need us, we go. Earth doesn't send Deathworlders for nothing." The room fell silent for a moment. Each of them understood the risks. Answering a call from a dying planet could mean walking into certain death. But hesitation was not an option. Humanity had trained them for this purpose, to survive where others would fail, to help where others could not. Lena looked at the team. "Prepare the ships. We leave immediately. This is what we were trained for." The Deathworlders worked quickly. Ships that could endure asteroid storms, radiation bursts, and gravitational anomalies were fueled, armed, and tested. Supplies were packed with precision, each item chosen for maximum efficiency. There was no room for mistakes. As they boarded their ships, the gravity of the mission sank in. Milo adjusted his harness and checked the engines one last time. "I hope we are not too late," he muttered. "Too late is not in our vocabulary," Lena said firmly. "We survive, we adapt, and we fight. That is what we do." With engines humming and shields activated, the fleet lifted off from Earth. The mountains below disappeared, replaced by the dark expanse of space. Stars stretched like diamonds against black velvet, and the Deathworlders felt the weight of responsibility pressing on their shoulders. Days passed as they traveled through space. The journey was not easy. Asteroid fields, radiation storms, and mechanical failures tested their skills. Yet the Deathworlders moved with confidence. They were trained for challenges like this. Each obstacle was met with intelligence, discipline, and unwavering courage. During the long nights, Lena studied the Virilia data. The planet was barely habitable, and the Krath were highly adaptive predators. Conventional weapons might not work. They would need cunning, speed, and creativity to survive. Milo, meanwhile, ran simulations for possible combat scenarios. "These aliens are fast, and they think in ways we do not," he said. "We cannot fight them like normal enemies. We have to be smarter than they are." Taro taught the team survival techniques that would be essential on Virilia: how to move silently, how to find water, how to use the environment as a weapon. Even in space, preparation mattered. After a long journey, the signal finally led them to Virilia. From orbit, the planet looked lifeless. Smoke rose from the surface, and flashes of light indicated ongoing conflicts. The Deathworlders prepared their landing pods and reviewed their strategy. They were ready for whatever awaited them. Lena took a deep breath. Remember this, she said. We are humans. We survive where others fail, and we will save those who cannot save themselves. This is our purpose. As the ships descended toward the planet, the Deathworlders knew their greatest test was just beginning, for Plea was a death world in every sense. But Earth's finest were about to show that human courage and ingenuity could shine in even the darkest place. The plea for salvation had been sent, and now the humans who could answer it had arrived. The ships pierced the thick clouds of Virilia, shaking as turbulence tore through the atmosphere. Flames from distant fires lit the horizon with an eerie orange glow. The Deathworlders braced themselves as their landing pods cut through the toxic air, descending toward the planet's surface. When they touched down, the ground was rough and scarred, littered with debris from collapsed buildings. The air was thick and difficult to breathe, and the stench of smoke and decay filled their masks. Lena led the team out of the pods, stepping carefully over shattered streets and fallen structures. This place is worse than the report suggested, Milo said quietly, scanning the ruined city. His eyes narrowed as he saw the scorched remains of homes and markets. The people here didn't stand a chance against the Krath. Taro crouched beside a cracked wall, inspecting strange footprints that glowed faintly in the dim light. And yet something tells me not all hope is gone, he said. The survivors are clever. They hide, they adapt. That is why they sent the call for help. As the Deathworlders moved deeper into the city, small sounds of life became clearer. From behind a ruined building, a child ran, clutching a bag of scraps. Lena knelt to show she meant no harm. The child froze, then slowly approached, eyes wide with both fear and hope. Sarah, the scientist who had sent the distress signal, appeared from the shadows, surrounded by a small group of survivors. Her hair was tied back in a tight knot, her clothes torn, but her eyes held a sharp intelligence that even the Deathworlders respected. You are the Deathworlders? She asked, her voice a mix of disbelief and relief. You came? Yes, Lena said. We received your plea. We are here to help. Sarah glanced around nervously. The Krath, they are everywhere. They adapt. They learn. We barely survive each day. If you are to help us, you must understand how dangerous they are. Milo stepped forward. Show us. We need to know exactly what we are facing. Sarah led them to the outskirts of the city, where shadows moved unnaturally fast. The Krath were alien in form, with sharp limbs and segmented bodies that reflected light like armor. Their intelligence was obvious in the way they coordinated attacks and avoided traps. They were hunters, predators that studied every movement and reacted instantly. The Deathworlders observed silently, noting patterns, weaknesses, and behaviors. Taro knelt behind a pile of rubble and whispered, They are clever, but they underestimate humans. That is where we can strike. Sarah explained the few victories the survivors had managed. They had learned to hide, to set traps, and to communicate without being detected. But the Krath were relentless and resources were dwindling. The city itself had become a dangerous maze, and every corner held the potential for death. Lena gathered her team. We will set up a base here. Our first priority is to protect the survivors and gather intelligence. We cannot win a straight fight, but we can outsmart them. We will teach the humans to survive and fight alongside us. The survivors, inspired by the Deathworlders' confidence, began helping immediately. They carried supplies, reinforced walls, and shared knowledge about the Krath's movements. Milo and Taro trained them in basic combat and survival tactics, emphasizing adaptability and awareness. Even small improvements in the survivors' skills made a noticeable difference. Night fell quickly on Virilia, turning the sky into a black canvas dotted with faint stars. The Krath became more active under the cover of darkness, prowling streets and alleys. From their new base, Lena watched the horizon, her mind calculating possibilities. We need to strike first, she said. If we wait, they will learn too much and strike us instead. The Deathworlders planned a reconnaissance mission. Milo led the team on hovercrafts, moving silently across ruined neighborhoods to observe the Krath in action. They discovered patrol patterns, supply caches, and weak points in alien fortifications. Every observation was carefully noted and mapped. Back at the base, Sarah worked with Lena to understand the Krath's biology. They are adaptive, yes, Sarah said, but there must be something that cannot change. Every species has limits, Lena nodded. We will find it. Humans survive where others fail because we adapt faster than any other species. That is our advantage. During the night, Taro taught survivors to move without leaving traces, to set simple but effective traps, and to conserve energy and resources. Each survivor gained confidence, learning that even in this death world they had a chance to fight back. By dawn, small victories were already visible. A Krath patrol was lured into a trap, a stolen supply cache was recovered, and survivors moved more confidently through the streets. The Deathworlders had arrived, and with them, hope had returned. Lena looked at her team and the survivors. "This is just the beginning," she said. "Varelia will not survive without us, and the Krath will not wait. But humans have a gift others do not. We do not give up. We do not surrender, and together, we will prove that life can thrive even here." The Deathworlders had landed on a world meant to destroy them. The battle for survival was only starting, but their presence was already changing the fate of Varelia. The day after their arrival, Lena gathered the team and the survivors at the base. The sun barely broke through the thick gray clouds, casting a dull light over the ruined city. The air was still heavy with smoke, but determination hung heavier in the room. "We cannot wait for the Krath to strike again," Lena said firmly. "We need to act, and we need to act smart. Today we scout their main positions. We observe, map, and find their weak points." Milo checked the hovercrafts, ensuring all engines were ready. "We move fast, hit hard, and return without being seen," he said. "Survival depends on speed and stealth." Taro walked among the survivors, teaching them basic hand-to-hand defense and how to move silently through rubble. The survivors listened carefully, absorbing every instruction. Many had spent weeks hiding in fear, but now they had guidance and purpose. Sarah joined Lena at the command console. "We know the Krath patrol in groups of 4 to 6, Sarah explained. "They react quickly to sound and movement, but they do not anticipate traps well. If we plan carefully, we can lure them into mistakes." The team divided into 2 groups. Milo led the first group toward the eastern sector of the city, where buildings were still partially standing. Lena led the second group toward the western sector, which had been completely flattened. Taro and Sarah accompanied Lena, instructing survivors and ensuring no one was left behind. The eastern streets were eerily quiet. Shadows moved between broken walls, but the Krath were cautious. Milo's group spotted a small patrol of the aliens moving with mechanical precision. Milo whispered into his comm, "3 Krath ahead, moving slowly. Perfect for observation. Hold positions." Through binoculars, the Deathworlders observed the creatures closely. Their segmented limbs moved in perfect coordination, their heads rotating independently to scan the surroundings. Milo's eyes narrowed. "They are smart but predictable. Watch the way they turn. We can use this." Meanwhile, Lena's group found remnants of an old communications tower. It offered a high vantage point over the western ruins. From there, they could see more of the Krath's movements. Sarah pointed to a shadow that darted across the rubble. "That one is scouting," she said. "Notice how it avoids open areas. They fear exposure, but they underestimate humans." Using what they learned, the Deathworlders began planning small attacks. They would not fight openly. Instead, they set simple traps, tripwires made of wires and debris, pitfalls camouflaged under rubble, and noisemakers to lure Krath into ambushes. Each action was precise, meant to teach the survivors strategy and confidence. By mid-afternoon, their first success came. A Krath patrol triggered one of their traps. Debris fell from a collapsed building, pinning one alien to the ground. The rest fled, confused and cautious. Survivors who had been hiding cheered silently. For the first time, they felt they could fight back. Taro smiled at their progress. "See that? You are learning. The Krath are not invincible. They have strengths, but humans have something stronger. Adaptability. Never forget that." As the sun dipped lower, Milo's group returned. He reported that the eastern sector had several patrol paths and a central hive structure. "We now know where their control points are," he said. "If we move carefully, we can strike in multiple places without engaging them all at once." That evening, Lena called a meeting. Survivors and Deathworlders alike gathered around a makeshift table, maps and sketches spread before them. "We have learned a lot today," Lena began. "The Krath are strong, fast, and intelligent. But humans have something they cannot understand: creativity, ingenuity, courage. If we use these, we can survive and fight back." Sarah spoke next. "We also discovered that the Krath have patterns. They follow routine patrols and rarely deviate. We can predict their movements, but we must remain careful. One mistake could be fatal. A young survivor named Jaren raised his hand. How can we fight them? They are so fast and strong. Taro crouched beside him. We do not fight them like you fight normal enemies. We use our brains, not just our strength. Set traps, use the environment, work together. Each small victory teaches you how to survive the next one. As night fell, the team set watches and prepared the base for potential attacks. The Krath were active at night, using darkness to their advantage. Lena reviewed the maps again, thinking ahead. Tomorrow they would test another strategy, a coordinated strike to rescue survivors trapped in a nearby building. Milo checked his equipment one last time. Tomorrow is the real test. If we succeed, it will show the survivors that humans can fight even the deadliest enemies. Lena nodded. Yes, and more importantly, it will remind them and ourselves why humans endure. We do not give up. We do not surrender. We survive no matter what. That night, the Deathworlders rested lightly, eyes open to the sounds outside. The survivors, inspired by their presence, slept with hope for the first time in weeks. Virilia was still dangerous and the Krath still controlled much of the city, but the human spirit had returned. In the shadows, the Krath watched and learned. But they had not yet faced the full power of humans who refused to die. The battle for Virilia was beginning, and Earth's Deathworlders had shown that hope could arrive even in the darkest place. Dawn broke over Virilia, but the light did little to warm the broken city. Smoke hung low and the smell of charred earth was strong. Lena gathered the Deathworlders and survivors at the base. Today they would attempt their first coordinated strike against the Krath. We have one goal, Lena said firmly. Rescue the trapped survivors in the eastern sector and weaken the Krath patrols. Precision, speed, and teamwork are key. We cannot afford mistakes. Milo checked the hovercrafts, making sure engines hummed quietly. We move in small groups. Avoid open streets. Watch each other's backs. Stay alert. Taro led the survivors through the streets, teaching them to move like shadows. Each step was careful, deliberate. Even the smallest noise could alert the Krath. The survivors, nervous but determined, followed his lead. The first obstacle came quickly. A Krath patrol blocked a ruined intersection, its segmented body glinting in the dull light. Milo signaled to Lena, and the Deathworlders split into two teams. Using debris and fallen walls as cover, they moved silently, flanking the aliens. A trap set by Taro and the survivors worked perfectly. A pile of rubble shifted, causing the Krath to step back in confusion. Milo and Lena acted immediately. With precise coordination, they disabled the aliens using specially designed stun devices that affected the Krath nervous system without causing permanent harm. The survivors watched in awe. Fear began to shift into confidence. Sarah whispered, "They are showing us how humans can fight anywhere, anytime." After clearing the patrol, the group moved toward a collapsed building where trapped humans had sent out signals. The structure was unstable, but Milo piloted the hovercrafts close, providing cover as Lena and Taro led survivors inside. Inside, dust filled the air, and every step risked bringing down more debris. The trapped survivors, pale and frightened, looked up as Lena approached. "We are here to get you out," she said calmly. "Follow us exactly and stay close." Step by step, they navigated through the rubble. Taro cleared pathways and held unstable beams in place while Milo checked for any hidden threats. Even in danger, the teamwork between Deathworlders and survivors was perfect. They moved like a single organism, each person aware of the other's position. When they finally reached the exit, the trapped survivors were exhausted but safe. Cheers rose quietly among them. For the first time in weeks, hope shone in their eyes. Outside, the Krath had begun to regroup. More patrols moved toward the building, drawn by the activity. Lena quickly assessed the situation. "We need to hold them off long enough to retreat safely. Use traps, distractions, and misdirection. We will not fight like they expect us to." The Deathworlders and trained survivors set simple but effective ambushes. They used sound to lure the aliens into pits, debris to slow them down, and sudden movements to confuse them. Each tactic was executed perfectly, showing human ingenuity in full force. As the Krath attacked, the team moved with precision. Milo flew above in a hovercraft, dropping nets and making noise to mislead the aliens. Taro directed survivors on the ground, moving quietly but effectively. Lena coordinated from the middle, ensuring no one was exposed. After tense minutes, the Krath were forced to retreat. They had underestimated the humans' ability to adapt, and the Deathworlders had proven why they were feared across the galaxy. Back at the base, the rescued survivors were given food, water, and medical care. Relief and gratitude filled the room, but Lena reminded everyone that the fight was far from over. Sarah studied the Krath patrol patterns and the building collapse carefully. "They are clever, faster than we thought," she said. "But humans think differently. We can learn from them, but they cannot predict everything we do." Taro nodded. "That is exactly why humans survive. We do not follow predictable patterns. We adapt to every challenge." The survivors trained harder now, inspired by the day's success. They practiced moving silently, setting simple traps and using the ruined environment to their advantage. Confidence grew with every small victory, and even the youngest among them felt capable of contributing. Milo reviewed the maps again. "Tomorrow we push further into the city. There are more trapped survivors, more patrols, and a central hive. We need information before we attack, but we have learned that even small strikes make a big difference." Lena looked out over the ruins as night approached. Fires burned faintly in the distance, but the base was secure. The Krath may control this planet, but they do not control the human spirit. Each step we take, each life we save, shows that humans can endure, adapt, and fight back. That night, the city was quieter than usual. The Krath prowled cautiously, aware that something had changed. The humans who had once been hiding were now learning, growing, and fighting. Earth's Deathworlders had arrived, and the survivors were beginning to see what true human strength could achieve. For the first time in a long time, hope was not just a dream. It was alive, moving, and unstoppable. The battle for Virilia was far from over, but the humans were no longer merely surviving. They were beginning to fight. The morning light on Virilia was pale and weak, but the survivors and Deathworlders were already awake. Today, Lena had planned a new strategy: to explore the ruins beyond the city and uncover information about the Krath's hive structure. Knowledge, she knew, was as powerful as any weapon. "Everyone stays alert," Lena instructed as the group prepared to move. "We do not know what we will face, but we do know one thing. Humans survive by thinking, adapting, and working together." Milo checked the hovercrafts one last time. "Keep communication lines open. Stick to your groups. If something goes wrong, retreat immediately. Safety is priority, but intelligence is essential." Taro led the survivors, showing them how to detect movement and recognize alien tracks. "Notice the patterns," he said quietly. "The Krath move with purpose, but they leave signs. Humans can read those signs if we pay attention." Sarah carried scanning equipment, examining ruins for alien energy sources. "The hive is more complex than we thought," she said. "It is not just a single structure. The Krath have multiple points connected underground and through the city. Understanding this layout will give us an advantage." The team moved carefully through the broken streets. Every shadow could hide danger. Every sound could be a signal of attack. The survivors, now trained by Taro and the Deathworlders, moved with a silent confidence. They had learned to trust their senses and their instincts. As they reached the edge of the city, they discovered a tunnel entrance partially hidden beneath debris. Milo signaled to Lena. "This could be part of the hive network. It is risky, but we can gather information without alerting the entire hive." Lena nodded. "We move in small groups. Take only what is necessary. Observation first. Combat only if forced." Inside the tunnel, darkness pressed in from all sides. The group relied on flashlights and scanners. The walls were lined with strange alien markings, and faint sounds echoed through the corridors. Every step was careful, deliberate. They observed small Krath patrols moving through the tunnels, noting their patterns and timing. Sarah recorded the data, mapping the hive's layout. Milo whispered, "Even underground, they have routines. That is our chance. If we strike carefully, we can disrupt them without large battles." Taro trained the survivors to follow silently, to move in lines, to cover each other. Even young survivors learned quickly, understanding the importance of patience and awareness. Humans, he reminded them, could think in ways the Krath could not. After hours of observation, the team exited the tunnels with a wealth of knowledge. They had discovered supply caches, weak points in patrol routes, and areas where the hive was most vulnerable. Lena reviewed the data carefully. "This is exactly what we needed. Knowledge will give us an edge. Tomorrow, we begin small strikes to test their reactions and to strengthen our strategy." That evening, The team gathered around a rough map of the city and tunnels. Survivors and Deathworlders together planned their actions. Lena spoke clearly, pointing to key locations. We cannot fight them all at once. We cannot rely on strength alone. But we can outsmart them, move quickly, and take control of small areas. Step by step, we take back Virilia. Sarah nodded. The Krath are intelligent, yes, but they cannot predict human creativity. They do not expect the unexpected. Taro added, and that is where we shine. Humans can think, adapt, and overcome. That is why we survive even in worlds designed to destroy life. The first strike came at night. Small teams guided by the Deathworlders targeted supply caches. Using silent traps and distractions, they removed resources from the Krath without alerting the entire hive. Survivors watched carefully, learning how to act with precision. The Krath responded, but the humans were ready. They had anticipated the counterattack and had safe paths prepared. The alien creatures became confused and cautious, giving the humans more confidence. In the base, Lena addressed the survivors. Every strike we take is more than just damage to the Krath. It is proof that humans can think, adapt, and survive. Each action teaches you something new. Each success builds confidence. Sarah smiled as she examined the data from the strikes. The Krath are adapting slowly, but they cannot match human imagination. That is our advantage. Even the youngest survivors were now helping. They carried supplies, set minor traps, and observed patrols. Every small task contributed to the larger effort. Taro praised their progress. See, humans can survive and thrive anywhere. Even a world like this cannot break us if we work together. By the end of the night, the team returned to the base with supplies and vital intelligence. They had proven something important. Humans were not helpless. Even on a death world, they could fight, learn, and win. Lena looked out at the dark city from the base. Fires still burned in the distance, and the Krath moved cautiously. But the presence of humans had changed the balance. Survivors were no longer hiding. They were learning to fight, to think, and to endure. The Krath may control this planet, Lena said quietly, but they do not control human will, and as long as humans survive, there is always hope. In the night silence, the Deathworlders and survivors rested lightly, ready for the next challenge. The first signs of human resilience were taking root on Virilia, and the planet, though harsh and deadly, was starting to feel less like a tomb and more like a battlefield humans could win. The morning on Virilia was sharper than before. The air was thick with smoke, but the humans had grown stronger. They no longer moved with fear. Lena, Milo, Taro, and Sarah gathered with the survivors, preparing for a coordinated offensive against the Krath. Today, they aimed to strike at the hive directly. We have learned their patterns, Lena said, spreading a map over a table made from rubble. We know where they move, where they feed, and where they rest. Today we take action that will change the balance. Milo checked the hovercrafts and weapons. Small teams, high speed. Use the terrain, use the traps. The Krath expect a fight, but we give them strategy instead. Taro walked among the survivors. Remember what you learned. Stay alert, watch your partners, and move with purpose. Every step counts. We do this together. The group divided into 4 teams. Each team had a clear target: supply depots, weak points in patrol lines, and entrances to the hive. Lena led the main team toward the largest entrance. Milo and 2 other teams would strike smaller targets to distract and confuse the Krath. As the Deathworlders and survivors moved through the ruined city, Sarah scanned for energy signatures. The hive is more connected than we imagined, she said quietly. But even one strike can weaken them. Their network is strong, but humans are smarter. The first strike team moved silently through shadows. Using traps, they disabled Plea. Trolls and cleared paths. The survivors, once timid and scared, now moved confidently, following every instruction with precision. Each success built courage, and the humans began to understand their own strength. Milo's team struck a supply depot. With quiet explosions and careful planning, they destroyed resources the Krath relied on. The aliens reacted quickly, but the humans were faster. They disappeared into the ruins before the Krath could regroup. Lena's team reached the hive entrance. The Krath were numerous, but Lena did not panic. "Observe first," she whispered. "Strike only where necessary. Precision wins over strength." Using a combination of traps, fire, and targeted attacks, the humans created confusion among the Krath. The aliens moved in unpredictable ways, struggling to maintain control. Each move by the humans forced the Krath to react, and the pattern of control they relied on began to crumble. Taro guided the survivors, ensuring no one was left behind. "Do not underestimate your own power," he said. "Humans can adapt, humans can think, and humans can overcome. That is why we survive on worlds that would kill others." The hive itself was vast, with tunnels twisting beneath the ruins. Lena and her team used the intelligence gathered in previous missions to strike at key points, collapsing passages and cutting off Krath reinforcements. Even in the face of danger, humans were precise, fearless, and clever. Meanwhile, Milo and the distraction teams returned to report success. "They are disoriented," Milo said. "Their network is weaker. Your strike at the hive entrance is working." Inside the hive, humans discovered more than just alien soldiers. They found captured survivors trapped and frightened. Lena and Taro moved quickly, freeing them while keeping patrols at bay. Every rescue was a reminder of why they fought. Humans were not just survivors, they were protectors. Sarah observed the Krath biology as they moved through the hive. "Their nerve clusters are vulnerable here," she said, pointing to areas where attacks could disable groups without killing them. "If we use this carefully, we can control the battlefield without excessive risk." By late afternoon, the strikes had achieved what many thought impossible. The Krath hive was disrupted, patrols were weaker, and humans had taken prisoners and resources. The survivors cheered quietly, knowing that victory was possible. They had not defeated the Krath completely, but they had proven something more important. Humans could challenge death itself. Lena gathered everyone at the base as the sun dipped low. "Today we changed the tide," she said. "We showed the Krath that humans are not helpless. We adapt, we fight, we endure. And together we can take back this planet." Taro added, "This is the strength of humans. On a world built to destroy life, we have survived, learned, and fought back. Every day we grow stronger. Every victory, no matter how small, is proof of what we can do." Sarah looked at the rescued survivors. "You see now what humans can accomplish when we work together. Courage, intelligence, and adaptability make us unstoppable. Even against the deadliest enemies, we can thrive." Milo checked the equipment for the next day. "Tomorrow we strike again. We continue to weaken them, reclaim the city, and secure the planet. We fight not because it is easy, but because it is necessary." Night fell over Virilia. Fires burned in the distance, but the base was safe. The Krath were regrouping, but humans had already demonstrated they were a threat they could not ignore. Survivors slept more soundly than they had in weeks, inspired by the Deathworlders' skill, courage, and determination. For the first time, hope was not just an idea. It was a force moving through the ruins carried by humans who refused to give in. The battle was far from over, but the balance had begun to shift. Earth's Deathworlders had arrived. They had taught humans to fight, to adapt, and to survive in ways the Krath could not predict. Virilia, once a death world, was slowly becoming a battlefield humans could win, and as long as humans endured, there was no place too harsh, no enemy too powerful, and no challenge too great to overcome. The dawn on Virilia was quiet, almost too quiet. Lena and the Deathworlders knew it was the calm before the storm. Today they would face the central hive of the Krath and end the threat once and for all. The survivors gathered at the base, ready to fight alongside their mentors. "We have come far," Lena said, looking at everyone. "We have learned, adapted, and fought. Today we strike the hive. Remember, humans survive because we think, we adapt, and we act together. Trust yourselves, trust each other, and we will succeed." Milo checked the hovercrafts and weapons one last time. Speed, precision, and coordination. Every step counts. Stay alert, watch for traps, and remember, we fight smart, not just hard. Taro moved among the survivors, giving them calm confidence. "Fear is natural," he said, "but courage is stronger. Today you will see what humans can do when we refuse to surrender. Stay focused, stay with your team, and use your mind as much as your strength." Sarah studied the data they had collected. "The hive's nerve clusters are exposed at certain points," she explained. "We can disrupt them with targeted strikes. This will weaken the hive without risking unnecessary lives. Follow the plan carefully." The group split into teams. Milo led one group to strike at supply points and block reinforcements. Lena led the main team to the nerve cluster entrances of the hive. Taro guided the survivors through side tunnels to flank the hive. Precision and timing were essential. The first challenge came immediately. Krath patrols moved swiftly along the outer perimeter. Using traps, stealth, and distractions, the humans disrupted their patrols. The Krath were strong and fast, but they could not anticipate the humans' careful coordination. Inside the hive, Lena's team moved with determination. The tunnels were tight and dark, filled with the alien hum of activity. Sarah directed them toward the nerve cluster areas. "These are the points we need," she whispered. "Strike here and the hive will falter." Taro's team approached from the side, using debris and narrow passages to stay hidden. The survivors, once frightened and unsure, now moved confidently, following instructions and helping each other. Every small action had built their courage. Milo's distraction team set off small controlled explosions, drawing attention and confusing the Krath. The aliens moved unpredictably, leaving gaps in their defense. The humans acted quickly, exploiting every opportunity. At the nerve clusters, Lena signaled the strike. Carefully, the team deployed devices that disrupted the Krath nervous system, temporarily paralyzing groups of the creatures. Chaos spread through the hive. The Krath could not maintain their coordination, and their confidence faltered. The humans pushed forward, freeing captured survivors and securing critical areas of the hive. Every move was precise, every decision calculated. The Krath were strong, but humans had something they did not: creativity, intelligence, and courage. Taro guided a group of survivors to set traps behind the Krath, cutting off their retreat. Sarah monitored energy patterns, giving Lena instructions on where to strike next. The hive, once an organized and deadly force, became disordered and vulnerable. Milo joined Lena's team inside the hive. "They are faltering," he said. "Their control is broken. We keep pushing and we end this." Step by step, the humans advanced. Every challenge was met with focus and skill. The Krath were relentless, but humans adapted faster than they could respond. The hive began to collapse under coordinated attacks, precise strikes, and clever strategy. At last, the central nerve cluster fell. A wave of disorientation swept through the hive. The Krath, confused and weakened, began to retreat. Survivors cheered, and even the Deathworlders allowed themselves a small moment of triumph. Lena gathered the teams in the center of the hive. "We have done what many thought impossible," she said. "Humans survive not because we are strongest or fastest, but because we never give up, because we think, adapt, and work together. Today we proved that life can endure against any challenge." Taro smiled at the survivors. "You have learned something important. Even in a death world, even against enemies meant to destroy you, humans can thrive. Courage, intelligence, and teamwork make us unstoppable." Sarah looked around at the liberated hive. "We have survived and we have learned. We have also shown that humans can turn despair into hope. This is our greatest weapon," Milo nodded. "Tomorrow we rebuild. We help the survivors reclaim their city. The Krath are gone, but the lessons remain. Humanity can thrive anywhere, even on a world designed to kill us." Outside, the ruins of Aurelia no longer seemed as hopeless. Fires burned low, but the city was alive with movement. Survivors began repairing shelters, clearing debris, and helping each other. Hope was strong and tangible. Lena looked out over the horizon. "The Krath may have thought they would destroy us, but humans endure. We survive. We adapt, we fight, and when we do more than survive. We thrive." The Deathworlders prepared to return to Earth, leaving behind trained survivors and a message. Humans could survive anywhere, even the most hostile worlds. The legacy of courage, intelligence, and determination would remain, ensuring that Aurelia would not just endure, but one day thrive. And as the ships lifted off, carrying Lena, Milo, Taro, and Sarah into the sky, the survivors looked up with pride. They had faced extinction and emerged victorious. Humanity had arrived, fought, and conquered. And nothing, not even a death world, could break the will of humans.